Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is doing great tonight. Tonight's a little bit different. We actually have with us the creator of Swordsfall and writer of Summit of Kings, Brandon. He is here to talk about the world of Tycor and the world of Swordsfall as a whole, and also the game as well. And we're kind of just talking about how it is to exist in a space such as TTRPG as Black players, and kind of the influence that we have on like the people around us, and basically how the world is kind of not great for us right now. But I won't say much. I'm gonna plug some things. Go to Swordsfall right now and get one, the new coloring book that just dropped today. Two, also get Drift of Dreams. I just got mine in the mail and it's so pretty. It features a lot of artists and it's get it. And if you go on the Swordsfall shop, you can use my code which is Burrito. I plug this every show. Y'all know this. Burrito, 3 E's, all caps. And yes, please go buy stuff. And you can have stuff like this hoodie and that I wear every single week. And a special thanks to Fulton County Arts Center for this lovely opportunity and funding this show. We really appreciate it. And also please donate to the Atlanta Solidarity Fund. They focus on raising funds for protesters that can't make bail. And it is a very important cause to a lot of stuff that is going on in the world right now. So please, if you have time, go ahead and donate your efforts and your monies to it. That would be greatly appreciated by all of us. So, okay. Without further ado, I'm just going to give it over to Brandon and we can go from there. So yeah, Brandon, whenever you are ready, you could take it away.
Hi. For one, thanks everybody for having me here. I appreciate it. It's a nice little break. I don't stream right now because I'm usually writing and afterwards I'm tired, and streaming is a lot of effort and I'm lazy like that. So I appreciate it. And it's just cool to hang out with people that are actually like playing my content, like it's weird calling myself a creator because like a year ago I was just like, I want to do a thing. So having people actually play it is a super cool experience. As well, I dropped in chat the Amazon link. So this is kind of a semi-important thing, and like I'll talk about this real quickly because I think this is something that other creators are going to find themselves in or might have faced. Publishing stuff on your own is great. Like if you buy it from me on my site, technically I make more money. That's just how it works, right? There's no one to pay but me and the site and whatever. Amazon, I know people feel a certain way about Amazon. But also, I need people to remember that as much as we talk about being paid in money, not exposure, being an indie creator, there is a point where you really do need exposure, right? I'm about as known in my circle as I can possibly be. So I need people outside of my circle. And unfortunately, it's hard to get people just to show up to a website that they've never heard of. So that's where Amazon comes into play, because Amazon, whether you like it or not, right? Because I have my feelings about Amazon, but Amazon is right now the Google of shopping. It just is. People go to Amazon, they throw in keywords. So buying my stuff on Amazon, like Drifted Dreams, helps me because that puts me higher up in the rankings. And we all know people generally look at the first two pages. So having my stuff be on the two pages, ideally being like in the top 10. But other than that, like having that trend actually helps me. So if you don't mind, if you can buy Drifted Dreams off Amazon, I would appreciate that. And also, right now, actually, Amazon does this interesting thing I found out interesting. And I think this is applied to other people as well. Amazon has its own algorithm that it decides what it's actually going to put on sale for. When it puts something on sale, it doesn't take from my pocket, it takes from their pocket. So I make the same amount of money regardless of if it sells at the $34.99 or if they drop it down to $27.99. So you're trying Amazon and you see Swordsfall and it's on sale, don't feel bad. You're taking money from Amazon. Buy it. And it all goes to this algorithm because they put it up there because like that's also why I get people to try to buy stuff on day one, because the algorithm sees it and goes, oh, this is hot. Hey guys, look, this is hot. This is hot. And then it puts it down to a price that it thinks and guesses that people will buy it at. So I put it up there at $34.99. I never told it to put it on sale, but I got enough people to buy it initially or look at it or wish list or whatever. Amazon was like, I wonder if people will buy it at 29 or 27. And that must have been when people started buying it because it keeps putting it at 27 to 29. And so I get to make the same amount of money. You get a savings. I get to pop up on a ranking. I get to email that to these journalists that won't email me back. So I could say, hey, I was number 4 on Amazon, and you send them a screenshot, and all of a sudden they take you seriously. That's a real thing. So all those things really help me. If you're an indie creator, using KDP is actually kind of nice. You don't have to worry about inventory. They literally just tack on the price of what it costs to make the book and Amazon's cut, which I mean, honestly, now that I deal with a publisher, it's actually not bad. So it's limited in what you can do with styles. That's why there's no like fancy stuff for Drift for Dreams, but also it's a graphic novel, so I didn't have to do fancy. But so if you're trying to get your book out or an RPG book, using KDP is actually pretty nice. So dropped an Amazon link. Buy that. Same thing with the coloring book. The coloring book is on Amazon right now. I'm actually going to do this thing where because I can buy it at cost from Amazon, I'm going to put it up on Amazon, let people help me out with my, rankings. Then I'll put it on the store because I can just buy it from that cost like a printer. So it's actually also works as a small scale printer, which is kind of nice. So another tip. So if you only need like, it doesn't start getting like really like more expensive than an offset printer until you buy more than 500. So if you're trying to do a small game or whatnot, putting up on KDP, like if you do black and white or something like that, you can get them for like $3. So tip for people. So, cause I'm all about that stuff. So I feel like if more of us get up on there, especially like POC, they can't ignore us. You know what I mean? Like if it's just me or one other two people, they can go, oh, well, Swordsfall is different. Swordsfall is special. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm just loud. I'm just loud. And I was like, you're going to hear me, but there's a whole bunch of other talented people. So I feel like if more of us start to take advantage of the tools that are out there and say that, hey, I do want to put my book out there. I'm not going to wait for a publisher. I'll be the publisher. You know what I mean? Like if we band more together, like you can really get there. And a lot of these charts, unfortunately, like the African American sections, if I sold 2 copies a day, I would stay in the top 5, period, of African American books on Amazon. That's how low the bar is. 2 a day, and I would stay there like forever, basically. So there's not a lot of us putting stuff out there, unfortunately. And I mean, there is books up there, but they're romance and stuff like that, which is great. But you know, I mean, if you want fantasy or sci-fi or stuff that we normally enjoy but don't see us in, it's got to be us making it. And right now with KDP, you really can't do it. So yeah. So this is the kind of stuff actually I'd really like to talk about. So if anybody here's on the con, this is the kind of stuff I actually want to talk about. Like, don't get me wrong, I love to talk about Sourcefall, but I feel like I'm finding all these tips that people aren't going to tell us, and I want to tell us because we should be using this stuff. you know. So yeah, I don't know. I'm in like this weird community like empowerment like at this
keep
moment.
going. That's my whole thing.
Oh yeah. I don't know. Like I feel like everybody has their things in life, right? There's a lot of people who make great cheerleaders, and I love them. And I'm like more of your like life coach, you know. I'm less like cheerleading and more like sit down with you at the kitchen table and be like, you know.
You like that? Okay, I'm trying.
You know how it is.
You know, because it's like it's nice to have that like real touch, and especially from someone who's been doing it, you know. So there's a lot of stuff out there, especially like my favorite tactic is, this is gonna sound terrible, but it's the truth. I like to see what mediocre white dudes are doing in my field, right? That get a lot of kudos that you look at and you go, oh, this is not great, right? We sit there, we criticize them, rightfully so. But I also look at them and go, cool. What are you using? What are you doing? What do people like? And then I steal all of it, every single bit of it. So, like, I was looking around and I was like, how are people getting their books on Amazon? And I was like, Kindle Direct Publishing? Oh. And then I go to their forums, I go to their Reddits. I'm in your forums, like I go to all the ones, right? So I don't post, I lurk and I steal.
I ain't stealing, that's using your resources.
Exactly, yeah.
Hey, you know what I mean?
Oh.
Getting intel.
Here's
It's all
You
about
just
tactics.
cited your sources.
they can't even get mad because I mean they've been stealing stuff for centuries. So like I mean they don't have to get over it. Especially if I'm just saying, especially if we do it better every time because we
It
have
unnerves
no
them.
choice.
They're like, wait,
I mean,
you can do it like this? And it's like,
and I think that's why a lot of people are just can be salty towards Swordsfall because they want to be in the world, they want to see themselves in the book, which makes no sense to me because they have 5e, they have Dungeons and Dragons.
I've seen the comments.
They have Pathfinder, they have all of these things that depict whiteness. But when it comes to the one thing that we have, the one thing that is like revolved around us, about us, like feeding us, then that's when people have a problem. And that's kind of, yeah.
Also, to be realistic about something, they're used to agreeing with the fervor of the white men around them, right? So they think that my fury isn't righteous, so therefore it's toxic, right? So it's not about what I'm saying or what I'm doing. It's about, well, I don't like it. Let me find a reason to justify this, right? And so like that's the classic moving the goalpost, right? So like I literally pop up day one. I'm like, hey, I'm making this cool Afropunk sci fantasy thing, and it's gonna be like blackety black. And people are like, oh, this looks cool. And then this guy comes and he's like, what is it to be about race? I was like, because I'm black. He's like, well, this would be so much better if it didn't. Well, it's gonna be this way, man. So sorry if you don't like it. And that guy is old grim, salty, Miss Salty guy who, come to find out, is a longtime troll, salty white guy with a ratty beard who looks like he hasn't shaved since he came out the womb. And you're just like, who is this guy? Who is this sea urchin? Who are you? And everyone's like, oh, ignore him. He's terrible. And I'm like, why are we ignoring him? Why is he even here? Why do we even know his name? Why doesn't he just cease to exist and just poof? And like, that's my mentality, right? Because like, that's what I'm used to, because that's kind of what we have to do to survive. But people aren't used to hearing that out loud, like not so vocally. And so me on Twitter, I'm just like, screw this whole man's. And he's like, how dare you? And I'm like, I dare. And he was like, fuck. I was like, well, that was easy. Oh, snap. Okay. And then like, it just, it became just a thing there. They're like, oh, well, so I have like I literally have an actual like anti-Swordsfall group, right? Like I have like a whole, like I call them my pretend Doom of League, right? And they're just like, I have to get the Swordsfall. And every once in a while, they'll tag me in something, but they'll forget that one of them didn't block me. So I see it. And then I see like this long list of like, block. That's Swordsfall. He's such a nut. Block. And I'm like, oh, there they go again. And I just show up and I wave at them like, hey guys, still got products out.
For scientific
Come
reasons,
buy some.
can you copy and paste the link to the group
Oh yeah.
for scientific.
Like Grim's up to like video number 14 about me. He's so mad about me, right? Mind you, I've had no interaction with this guy past this conversation a block, but he's so mad about me. He makes videos directed at me, right? He made a whole rap diss battle video where he had a rap battle against a cutout of me. I am very serious. This is still on YouTube, and I won't send you the link because it's so awful. It's so awful. It's funny, and then it's awful. Oh yeah, he's like that guy. He's like active shooter McWhite guy. So like, you know what I mean? Oh, he's that guy. He plays with Nazis and stuff. So like,
I was attacked by Nazis on Twitter.
Get inspiration for Summit of Kings from actual Black artists. You got it from him. That is where you got the inspiration.
That's what I got it from.
Summit of Kings.
My favorite thing is his first video was he was like Swordsfall, another grift, and I'm like, what? And he goes in this tirade about how I'm a grifter and how like welcome to Tycor is just this old big thing. I'm gonna take money and disappear into the wind and never do anything. And I'm just like, this is gonna age so well. So I shouldn't talk about this but I'm going to because I'm petty. So every time I come out with something new, I go to that video and I drop the link for the new product. I'm like, hey Grim, thanks for the advertisement. Just letting you know Jojo Dreams is out. Hey, just letting you know Summon of Kings is out. Hey, just letting you know Rising and Buyout. And he deletes everyone.
I love the
and I just
Yeah,
it feels so good.
But that isn't that something though? I think that's something to talk about. How a Black person gets some sort of success, and because they won't put up with your BS, they get attacked and harassed.
They hate it. If there's one thing they hate the most is when I won't take whatever they're throwing at me. I'm like, I don't care. And then they're just like, how dare you? And then I'm a writer. So like, you're into my territory. Like I write funny stuff and snark and stuff all day. Like I'm preparing my lines for you. Like I have material. Come now. Like I'm waiting. Don't do this.
This is my stage.
I have a whole playbook.
I literally write these books. Come now. Like, but they do.
And mad because like when you if you were to call out a white person, they can show their whole ass. But when we want to say something about it, it's a huge issue. It's World War whatever. And what's people unfollow, people stop supporting, people cancel. So
I'm so disappointed in you. Like what?
What?
Be the bigger person. What?
What?
Ooh.
I was on your side, but now I'm like, okay. So, it comes with the territory, but at the same time, like, it's disappointing that comes with the territory, So, like, if I was in this just for me and my profit, I would be quiet, honestly. I would make more money by just going with the wind. We know that. But, like, that's just not what I'm about, right? Because, like, for me, like, I wasn't always as spicy. Like I was more of like a quiet kid, and I paid that price for being that quiet kid, So I think about what it's like for those people that can't stomach having to deal with the shit that I deal with every day, the stuff that I deal with every day. You know what I mean? So like, I'm okay with harassing a troll until he deletes his whole account. Because for me, I consider that a win because I know that someone else who comes after me doesn't have to deal with them. Yeah, they'll have to deal with some other stuff, but not that guy. And right now they're in front of me. So like the least I can do is clear the way that little bit. You know what I mean? Like it benefits everybody, So, and it's just like, that's just what I know how to do, And like, I'm all for positivity, but like my positivity is different. My version of positivity is like, I like the positivity. It's like the classic, you walk out into your elaborate porch or deck, and it's just like quiet, and you have your cup of coffee, and like it's a perfect sunrise, and you're just like, that's my positivity. And I do that by making sure that all the trolls are gone and buried somewhere else. So, and that's kind of like Swordsfall on the T. That's why it's Afro punk. Like that's literally a part of the world, like folklore, which is like you're kind of like your dictatorship, but like your what if a guy was a dictatorship? There's always a sense of of action, like I imagined, like, what if instead of a person who decided they wanted to rule a whole country, it was a god? Because why not? What if someone was like, well, why can't I just run my own nation? And they're like, no, come with us, brothers and sisters, and we'll have this whole pantheon. And Hakim was like, no, nope, 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 one man band. So he was like, yeah, man, he kind of walked into the place and looked around and was like, this is my land now, and I'm going to build my city and my people. And he just kind of has that dictatorship, but he is a deity. So he doesn't have the arrogance of a person, of a human, right? He's not going to shoot beyond what he can do because he can actually do it. So it's like, you think about like all the things that like a dictator is like, I'm going to do this. And you're like, no, you can't. And Hawkins like, I'm going to do this. And you're like, oh, and then he does it. So right when you get to that point where you're like, things are going to be like a gross dictatorship, it doesn't, because he completes it. He does the thing because he has that like godly power. So like, there's always that sense of like rebellion or like a little bit of disruptiveness in Swordsfall, because like that's how it works. Like for me, I realized you couldn't really write a perfect world, because it's not that it's not possible. It's just that it's so high maintenance, because to make a world be perfect, you have to squash a whole lot of bugs. You know what I mean? So rather than writing this thing where people are just perfect as is, I wrote it more of a, what if it was one of those things? And this is kind of goes back to being black, right? I imagine like, what if it was like when we were like, hey, the police are shooting us and we're unarmed and this is BS. And everyone was like, what? And we're like, yeah. And they're like, oh, handled. And I just kind of thought about that. Like, what would that be like? You know what I mean? Like, bad thing happened, but then you were seen and it was fixed.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's not perfect, but oh, that sounds pretty awesome. So that's kind of Swordsfall. It's a world where like, yeah, when something bad happens, because there will be there will be someone who wants too much. There will be someone who steps past the line, who decides to go past. That's just the nature of anything, not just humans, but like we talk about cats and nine lives. Like that's just being alive sometimes is being like, what's this? And then die. And then someone else behind you is like, hey guys, don't eat that.
Yeah.
So like, and that's just the reality of it, right? So when I roll build, I try to remember those things. So in Swordsfall, it's not that it's perfect. It's just that when there's a problem, people go, okay, we're going to nip this in the bud because this is not okay. And because everybody wants to have that quiet porch sipping your coffee moment. And like everybody prizes that. So instead of doing that by avoiding the situation, they do it by solving the situation. They like, I imagine it being that true piece of all the problems are gone because you squashed them all. It's like the ultimate anti-anxiety, because there's nothing to be anxious about, because you know that there's a problem, you have homies, you know what I mean, and people will listen to you. So like I pull a lot of like real world things in the Swordsfall, but I do so in a way that like I want to fix it, but not like in a magical way, but like a deep down like, but no, like what if a world was actually like people paid attention and we're like, oh, I actually listened to this whole thing and thought about it, and I apply that as a whole. And like with Grid Nest, where your pirates is from, where you get a lot of like Nubaya and people like that, I kind of did something different. I was like, all right, what if we had a section of the world where they were like, rules? No, we're good. We just realized we can all not be terrible assholes, so we're just going to do our own thing individually. And that's kind of Grimnest, right? Yeah. But Grimnest got that way because it actually had a bad dictatorship. So there's a story that used to be on World Anvil and whatnot, but it'll be in Welcome to Tychor, but it's about the first pirate, Lafitte. And essentially he freed Grimnest, and everybody expected him to take this crown and coronate himself. And he basically, in front of this, basically more or less all of Grimnest essentially holds the crown, is like, there will be no more kings, and destroys the crown. And it's like, we're just going to be peeps. And people are like, wait, oh, we can just, oh yeah, we can just, oh, and that's Grimnest, right? They just realize that they can govern themselves individually, so they do so by families and your conclaves, because people decided we're all about X. Let's live together in this place. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, and because of that, then you of course get people who decide that, oh, if there's an X group of bad people, well, we're going to be the X group of good people, because that's how life works, right? And there's a balance. So I always try to write a balance, but I take that like real life bit, because everybody wants to wonder, man, what would it be like without government? All right, crib nest. And so like I feel like in Swordsfall you get like a little taste of different possible Blackish futures. And so like my goal is that like ideally every reader should have two places they're like, I wouldn't live, and two places they'd be like, please move me in. And if we got 10 people in a room, they'd all have different answers. And like that's my goal. So
I actually really love that.
It's been really fun. It's also helped me put like my own life in order, because like sometimes like a Black existence makes you feel like you're just permanently insane because you're like, why does nothing make sense? And it just feels like constant gaslight. You're like, I feel like this is, you're like, I feel like this makes sense, but everybody makes me feel like it doesn't, so sitting down and not only like being able to read about pre-colonial Africa, which is always interesting, but also doing world building where I really wanted to create a world that felt authentic, but also like positive. It made me think about a lot of real life stuff and like the classic, well, how would you do it if you were president? And except it's like bigger, well, how would you do it if you were the god of this whole universe and got to, play with people? Man, that's what you get to do as a writer. But instead of just being at that surface level and just playing with aesthetics and just being like, it's cyberpunk, so neon glowing lights and Japanese signs, I was like, no, let's take the imagination of the future, but like from more of a POC perspective. And I wanted to be punk because like this whole future where corporations rule and everything is terrible. Life right now is terrible. I don't want to create more terrible. I don't mind creating conflict, but like I want it to be a world where like it's actually cool. It's actually fun. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I feel like that's something we're missing a lot lately. I feel like there's not a lot of big story universes where you actually would want to live in. They're always like, well, that's cool, but I wouldn't live there. That person's cool and this character's cool, but I wouldn't live there. I want to be like, like those are things I think about, and I'm like, man, I really want a place that I can like move into. And yeah, it has some spots you don't go because you have to have some spots you can't go. Like, as much as we like to think that we like things to be perfect, we also like to gossip. We love to have that, oh, this place is haunted. We just don't want it to be like really, really, truly eat your soul haunted. Maybe someone like your cousin heard about somebody, but you can't verify it. Like we like that, where you're just like, it's intangible, but not actually like bad. No one wants to like walk out the door and demons are eating you, and there's you're on the last city on Earth, and there's only 45 days left. You're like, cool.
All right.
What do I do?
Well,
I'm chilling.
turn up. Yeah, I was like,
45-day barbecue, I guess. I don't know.
Right.
Literally, it's a party.
The cookout, let's go.
The cookout, So I don't know.
yeah. I think I have a question.
Yes.
So with all of this, and I'm gonna say, being a successful Black creator in this space, who I hope gets more and more and more success, what made you sit down the first time and go, I'm gonna make this story. I'm gonna write this story. What was the deciding factor? Because I know it's probably, I mean, a lot of it from what you were already talking about, I can see, how you were interpreting things, how you probably sat there and was like, this needs to happen. This needs to be a thing. But what really sat you in your seat and made you start?
It's like multifold actually, because like the core of Swordsfall I started writing a long time ago. Because me and some friends were going to make a video game, because we were like, hey, if we're gonna make a video game, we're gonna be a studio, and I was gonna be the writer, and another friend was gonna do the programming, and another friend was gonna do the art. And like, if I say I'm gonna like do something, there's like a, yeah, I'm gonna do it, and then there's like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. Like when I'm like, I'm gonna do it, like I'm going straight home. There will be no sleep. Like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I sat down and I did like a whole 42-page game document, like an actual like industry level game document. And man, I was mad hyped. And no programming happened, no art happened, no game happened. But the story just kind of stuck with me. It bothered me. Like it was an interesting idea that I had come up with, and I was just like, hmm. And so just over the years, I would take like a character name and I would use that for like this MMO character and this RPG character, and I would use it in this campaign, and I'd use like little bits here and there, but like I never, I would be up at late at night. I might have an idea, and I might like write like a little short blurb, like this happened in the story, but I never took it seriously. And then, man, I was just honestly at this point where like I had left tech because, and it wasn't all about race, but it was definitely partially about the mindset. Like I don't mind money, but there's a certain point where like I want to have fun, I want to do stuff, but like when everything's about margins and just anyway, like I got really like
Yeah.
disenchanted with the whole tech industry. I really did. And I was like, you know what? I'm tired of corporate America. I'm tired of all that. I just want to work a decent job that
Mhm.
pays enough to pay my bills, and I don't hate my job. And I was just hopping from job to job, and eventually I live in Oregon, and I worked at a dispensary. And I was like, you know what? Fuck, I'm just sell weed. You can't go wrong with that. I was like, there's no way. Now that weed's legal, there's no way this can be an unpleasant job. Oh, well, corporations are there too now. So I was at this point, I was like, cool, everything sucks. I need to do
Oh.
something that like just makes me feel something. And on Facebook, I was like, hey, anybody want to like do a tabletop game? I'll write a story. I don't know. I need something, you know what I mean? You ever just had that moment, you're like, I need to create. I just need to
Every day.
warmth, And I was like, and I hadn't done it in so long. I was literally like in my car. I remember the moment because I was in my car driving out of the drive-through for Burger King, and it was overcast and it was raining. I was just like, no, I need something to fuel me. And I went home and I was like, I'm gonna make a campaign and it'll have some stuff. And this little voice was like, hey, what if you like took that game finally and like just it's not gonna be a game, accept that. But you made the story. You could just like combine it with all the other stuff you've written into like a mega universe and do what you want and make it blackety black because it's just you.
Yes.
I love that phrase, blackety black.
Yeah.
Blackety black black black.
Hey, I'm
Blackety
about to
black,
start
black,
saying that.
Black.
And then Black Panther came out and saw Black Panther and credits roll and I'm just crying and I'm just like, I was like, this is it. I'm just like, this is it. I'm doing it. And like, so it was like 3 parts. I'd started and I'd realized I wanted to do it. And then I saw the movie and I was like, that's it. I was like, I have to do something. Like I have to make this feeling my own. And like, I never thought I'd be here, but I just knew that I had to make something to like for myself, for my own spirit, and now we're here,
Now we're
so
here.
it's like a weird like follow your dreams, but it's more like have this idea and just be really dogged about it and never give up on it because you really like it. And so like I tell a lot of people never delete ideas. I don't delete anything. Like I'll re-edit stuff, but you never know when you need an idea and you already had that idea. And it's just waiting for you. And you open it up, you're like, oh, okay. It works, man. Like I almost think of like myself as like a mini team, but like the team members never see each other because if you write something and don't touch it long enough, it's almost like someone else wrote it.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, 2019 Brandon. Okay. Okay. 2020's got you. We're going to take this to the next level. And it's just, it's always just incremental like that, And I just try to like, I'd never undercut myself. Like that was the thing I did a lot when I was growing up. And I realized that when I stopped dragging myself down, it was really clear that like, not only was I my worst enemy, but it made everything anyone else said hurt way less. because I wasn't magnifying it, you know. So like that's why it's easy for me to dunk on people on Twitter, because there's nothing to trigger for me, like in terms of like my own like cascading of self-esteem. Like you can trigger me on some stuff because I got some trauma, but like you're not gonna send me into a whirlwind where I eat myself. I'm gonna eat you, but like not me. You know what I mean? So like, and that keeps my own fire, because I don't put my fire out. And I don't let you put my fire out, so my fire just never goes out. And like it sounds simple, but like it was weirdly simple. But like an epiphany, was like, oh wait, if I stop bashing myself, then other people won't have ammo either. And then I have all this energy just to defend myself because I'm not tired from punching my own self constantly. Oh snap. You know, and now like when I'm salty about something, I go write Swordfall. So like, and if anybody reads 4 steps, I basically tell you at the end, like I wrote Xavian, and Xavian's curse is like a metaphor for depression, because Xavian isn't just a dark god. Like I imagined my depression as an entity, because just mentally I wanted to be like, I needed a way that I could be like, I want to fight you because I'm tired of this, you know, because I do have depression, right? So I was tired of feeling like I was fighting myself. I wanted to fight someone else, you know what I mean? And so like when I was writing, and I was thinking about like how I would write like your big bad dark evil god. I didn't want to. One big thing you realize real quickly is most evil gods are written based off of like Christianity, Satan. So you're like, if you want to be non-Eurocentric, you have to redefine how you think of the big bad evil. You know what I mean? So I had to do that from the get-go, which was way harder than you think it is, because you realize how much of your good bad concepts in America is based off of Christianity, and that's a little horrifying in its own self, regardless of what religion it is. Like realizing that you didn't really know the origins of the things that you say regularly is a little like, what? You mean Africa didn't really have a concept of Satan until missionaries came out? Well, let me just X all that stuff out and throw that around, and you know. So you know, it was like, okay, so like story wise, we had to be honest that like we like the concept of a big bad, because it feels like something that you can rise to and then defeat, you know. So like you have to have something like that. It hits a chord. It is. But I didn't want it to be Eurocentric, which meant having to be like outside the box in a way that I hadn't really tried before. And so while I was kind of thinking about like what it meant to deal with something that was like maybe not evil, but at least parenthetical to human life, like what would that be? Like what would it be? You know, if it wasn't guided by like I'm evil because I'm mad, like what would it be like? And then like literally like a voice in my head was like depression, and I was like, oh shit, that's right. So like in a way, like Xavian is like the depression of Type War, you know, and that's why like in Drifted Dreams he preys on people's their own things, you know, your own desires that can lead you into a bad way, the things that you don't like to say out loud but eat you inside. Like Xavian's the dark god who can hear those things, and he's waiting for that moment when you have given up on yourself. Because like, this is really a spoiler. I think it's something that like wasn't necessarily super clear into Dreams, but the first chapter, that's what the first 2 chapters is about. You know, it's about that moment when you've given up on yourself. And that's what Xavian's waiting for, because he's waiting to tell you all the terrible things you've been thinking deep down but hadn't said. So that's that conversation of like, and if you read like 4 steps or anything Xavian, that's what he does. He waits for someone to have that moment in themselves when you're like, man, I'm just hitting, and Xavian's that voice is like, yes, it is their fault, you know. And it's you know, I wanted to play off that feeling of like you kind of destroy yourself from the inside, but in Swordsfall, that's Xavian. I try to give like a sense of something that's beatable, you know, and so like that's Xavian. But at the same time, depression isn't really defeatable. You beat it back, but it's always there. And that's why like the dimension that he's trapped in is called beneath it all. It's kind of like a subtext for depression. It's kind of beneath you no matter what. You know what I mean? You can beat it, put it there, but it's kind of just waiting, kind of lurking. And that's Xavian. He's always waiting, always lurking, probably never going to be rid of him. But like knowing he's there and knowing how to deal with him is like the key to success. So like in Swordsfall, that's kind of like a thing. Like when people fall, Xavian's waiting for them. He's just like, oh, hey, got a deal for you. You know, and like I like to imagine it's one of those things where like when you're doing good, those things don't work on you. You know, when you're in a good mood, someone's like, hey, you want to get to trouble? You're like, hell no, I'm doing good right now. Bye, Mr. Xavier. So like that's why he's waiting for you at that moment, because that's that time when you're like, well, and it's just like those are the kind of things I try to like add to my storytelling, that like I want to be like realistic, but also like give you like a sense of hope. So like same thing with your dreams. And I think that that's the thing that I know that people got surprised about the most. They're like, why am I crying? You didn't tell me this was coming. I was like, I know. Because it's like bad things happen, but then like there's hope, you know, and it comes from like a gathering. And that was like a big thing I really got from reading like so much African lore, was really like the concept of what it meant to the village. It wasn't just about a space of people. It was about understanding that like you share bonds, you share things that go beyond like this mortal plane. So like helping each other out also helps you out. You know, I mean, it's a win-win, and not helping out like your fellow person is a lose-lose no matter how you look at it. You know,
Right.
so I tried to add that to Swordsfall without like preaching it to you, but like it's in the subtext. So I hope like it's one of those things people pick up on, but like in a good way, and kind of be like, hey, yeah, like maybe we should stomp trolls and hug our friends. That sounds kind of nice.
Sounds awesome.
That's like the Swordsfall tagline.
I think there was a question from chat. Bree, did you
Mhm.
want to read that out? I
Yeah.
can't see it.
So, okay.
They should open up Zoom chat. Question: are you influenced at all by writers like Nindy? I always mess up her last name and I hate it, so I'm not going to. Yeah, super. I mean, I've read like all of Nindy's books. I follow her on Twitter. I'm like always hoping that like one day she'll notice me and I can be like, senpai. Now I can
Peace.
now I can finally like really really learn your name and actually know it, because I can say like there's a core for
Okorafor. I'm not great with Igbo, but it sounds like an Igbo name.
okay, that's what I was thinking. A core for.
Yeah.
That's one thing that's like been the hardest challenge for me in Swordsfall, is like I'm very more American, so like having to like figure out how to pronounce like African dialects without anybody around me to help me. I'm always like Googling, please help me, because someone will ask me how to pronounce this. Not
Yeah,
oh
that's very
man.
fair. I'm very British. My parents are very Nigerian and very Igbo. So they, whenever they say like, "What's your name?" and I try to say my name but with a British accent, they're like, "No, you're not saying it right." So they make fun of me for it.
Parents make fun of you.
Oh no.
No.
That's messed up.
Damn.
It's funny.
Well, I can see that. I know that life. Yeah. But yeah, I've definitely been influenced. But like one thing I tried to do particularly for myself is I try to write without anybody in mind. Like, not to say like don't copy anybody. It's just that like the fun for me in Swordsfall is like a personal journey. So even when I'm borrowing an element, I'm borrowing the theme event, things I like that are fun, and then I'm mixing it in a way that's me, that's like Swordsfall. Like, so like influence in terms of like, you know, one of the authors like I've read growing up and just recently and stuff like that. Like, absolutely. Cause you know, it's hard not to read a book and be like, man, like the way someone writes it, or there's a character or stuff like that. But like I very much try to be like my own person. Like, not to diss anybody else who was influenced, because I mean, like we all get influences, but I've always been more of like a story kind of a kid. So like honestly, like anime has influenced me more than like probably anything else I can say. You know what I mean? And it's just like it's one of those things as a kid. I remember watching this and just blowing my mind and being like, what?
Oh God,
You can do this with cartoons? And you read it and they're like, this isn't a cartoon, it's Japanimation. I was like, this is awesome. And it's just like, I want to have that same experience on a kid, you know, and it be Swordsfall stuff. And I wanted to have that sense of like kinetic energy and like fun and also like friendship and all like the things that I think people really end up falling in love with anime for. Like I I understand those elements. I want to take those themes and I want people to have that same reaction in Swordsfall, you know. So like I want some little kid to see me by spinning around and being on badass and being like, oh, like, you know. So those are the things honestly that really influence me. Like I go for those moments that just like, I think it's kind of obvious when you read about it, right? Like I want you to have a reaction. Like if you read my stuff and by the end you're like, yeah, that was good, I'm disappointed. I'm like, that's it? Did you laugh? Did you cry? Anything? No. Like like I want that, you know, like I'm trying to elicit that. And like there's a lot of mediums I know that do that, but to me anime was the one that like consistently makes me like emotion roller coaster and I'm like, I need a break. So
Oh yeah.
Literal.
Rox
study.
is loving this. I can tell.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I literally, like, side note, the first episode of Ruby came out like last week, and I've
Oh
been
my
listening to
God.
the opening probably like 10 times today.
like that's why I want to do an anime. Like I want to have that OP that like someone just has like on repeat. They're like, this is just so, like, and you know all the words, and it comes on. You're just like, yeah. like I've lived that life. Like I want
need
to
more
be
funding.
a part of that. Yes, that man. Like I need one of these rich people to throw their money at something useful. Like Michael
Hi.
Bloomberg could have thrown $100 million at me, and I would have done way more for his election than he did. That's all I'm saying. So
Hi,
like,
chat. If any of you have
Rich qualities.
rich.
we have a creator here who needs all your dough. So.
I see those people that be throwing $1,000 at random streamers. I
Mhm.
mean,
Yes.
Mhm.
Where did you get $1,000?
Literally.
And this
I
economy?
wish I had the privilege. I wish
In
I
this
had.
economy.
There's
In
so
this
many hidden
Like-
rich people running around. Like there's so many tech guys that just have money who you wouldn't know. They don't look like it. They don't act like it. They go to work. They make a lot of money and they come home like, but they only like 3 things. I don't mean there's a diss, but I just know so many of them. They're just super particular. They're like, you know, like I watch this series, I play PlayStation and these games, and that's it. So like, how much money they spend is capped because they just have very particular tastes. So they sit on money, and eventually they're like, I need something to do with it. So I've had those people in my Kickstarter. Like I've told the story before, but I have a backer who dropped $4,000 on Welcome to Tycor, and I messaged them and I was like, was this a
mistake?
typo?
Like, yeah. Like,
You add an extra
hello?
zero because
Is
we
this
can
blood
call
money?
Kickstarter because
That's what
I ain't trying to
this is
take
blood
your
money, I'm
mortgage
not
money.
telling
And they were like, oh no, like they're like, no, just what you're doing is super cool. And honestly, I just have money. I don't do anything with it. And you know, like people say
Aw.
support, and I thought this would be cool to support. And I'm just like,
Isn't
thanks.
that
Like,
something? Oh.
like,
When
what do you
people
even
do
say
that,
to
I'm
that?
like, I wish I could hug you, but like pandemic.
Right.
I can hug my mama right now.
Right.
You know, so like I just need to find more of those people. So, you know, it's a weirdly enough, I'm at that point now. I'm like, yeah, I kind of want that exposure we always make fun of now. That would actually be kind of nice right now.
Right.
I'm full circle now.
I mean, people always talk about like clout in like a negative way, but it can be positive and negative. And honestly, truly, like clout, give Swordsfall the clout. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I guess. Does anyone else have a question before I keep asking all these questions?
I don't really have a question, just like more of like a statement. And no, yeah, I think what you're doing is like truly inspirational. You have taken an idea that has come up and you've put so much work into it and you've let your drive take you all the way. And you do it while upholding so many of your own principles that you don't submit to anybody. And I think that's truly inspirational, especially nowadays where it's almost like, you know, do I have to kiss somebody's ass butt to do something? And that's not the case. If you choose a set of principles to uphold, you know, it'll get you somewhere. You know, it takes time, unfortunately, but if you are willing to wait and willing to put in the effort continuously, it'll pay off in the end. And I think that's truly inspirational.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, that's the thing I've learned. I've really realized that in a way, it's like, it reminds me of the joke about like you don't have to outrun the bear, you just have to outrun your friend, you know? And like, funny enough, it's the same way in this stuff. Like sometimes you don't have to get a home run. You just have to keep going long enough because everybody else is gonna drop out and not make it. I mean, I don't mean to sound mean, but like it
No, you're
really is
right.
a long game. I mean, the longer you stay, it just adds up. You know what I mean? Because it is a hard game, and there's people leaving all the time for various reasons. And if you can just stay,
Didn't
and
Viola Davis say the same thing? Didn't she say the same thing that like she didn't have that moment, but because she kept going, as
mm,
talented as she is, it finally came because she didn't stop where her peers did. I think
but it's
that's
like,
something
what is
she
it though?
said.
People say they're like overnight success, 20 years in the making, or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like that. That happens to me all the time now. I'll have like a random I'll get randomly viral again. They're like, oh my god. I'm like, welcome
For no reason. It's like, oh,
again
You
to new
also
people.
you also notice the weight off of your shoulders when you stop worrying about other people's successes and kind of just keep your head down and just tunnel vision. Sometimes that's what you have to
Hmm.
do.
Yeah.
And like that's something that I'm learning as a creator is that, it's okay to be selfish in that sense of I need to focus on my work and I need to block all of this out so I can be successful in what I want to do. And I know that that people are going to get mad about that, but at the same time, those are also the ones that are trying to be in everybody's business, trying to put a piece of their business in everybody else's business. And it's usually the people that are mediocre that don't deserve the followers that they have. So it's like it's frustrating.
sorry,
So
I'm
Well,
my face gives
it's
everything away.
frustrating, but like having that tunnel vision, it just helps so much. And I think that's why Black creators excel so much more, dare I say, than most people, is
Mhm.
because
hmm
we don't have room to slack off. We don't have room to be less than perfect. And we want to put passion into something because we want to be something, because we've always been told that we aren't something.
Mhm.
So when white people want to challenge that and they want to say, well, why didn't you notice me, or why didn't you comment on my thing,
Mhm.
hey, can you share
hmm
this? I don't have
Mhm.
time. I'm focusing
hmm
on my platform that is barely getting
Yeah,
noticed already.
exactly.
And I don't need 20 white people in my DMs talking about, can you share this, Brito, can you share this, can you
Ooh.
retweet this? That is the worst way to get my
DMs are
attention.
off.
I
Don't
will
I
do
turned them
that.
not.
off.
Oh
I will
god.
not respond to you. I won't respond to you, and I will delete the message. I might block you depending on what you say on your timeline. Like I don't have time for
I
these things.
refuse to close my DMs. Come
And
to into my DMs
yeah,
at your own
See,
I
risk.
I'm about to close
some
mine.
people
Like,
don't, but mine are closed because I have this thing where I work and work and work, and I'm sure all of you guys do too. And I feel exhausted all the time. And everyone keeps saying, we should take a break. I'm like, no offense, but you're white telling me to take a break when I have to work 4, 10 times as hard as you do just to get 1/4 of what you get. You don't understand.
Hmm
Um, and so I'm sure like you've put countless and countless and countless amount of hours, work and time, sweat and blood into this story. And still, even though I feel like you are, so mote it be, on this huge incline, if we were white, you'd already be there. That's just
hmm
point blank, period. And that's what I kind of want audience members who aren't melanin infused to
I love that.
understand is
Melon
that
infused.
all the work that Brandon does, had Brandon had that advantage, he'd be up there by now.
well,
Hmm
let's also, while we're here and while we're all sipping a nice, beautiful cup of tea,
Oh, my
let's
drink
talk
is
about the
empty.
melanated people that want to ignore other successful melanated people. We ain't perfect. Our community's not perfect. It has its toxicities. And the fact that people have the nerve with those high follower counts to turn their noses up to their fellow
hmm
Black creators, we don't have enough creators in the universe to be doing that. We don't have enough creators to be cultivating things for you to have that arrogance, for you to have that air, and for you to knock the idea that everybody eats. because in the Black community, everybody does eat at the end of the day.
Mhm.
And that is what that I believe that, you know, genuine creators, Black creators who are about their people and who are about their followers have that in every single thing that they do. You see it, and
Mhm.
it's displayed everywhere. And if you're doing this for the sole purpose of literally just trying to step on people and trying to say I'm holier than thou just because I have XYZ, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Like, don't even be in creation, don't even be in gaming, because gaming is about collaboration, it's about community, and it's about like supporting other people, Black people supporting Black people. I
Mhm.
don't know why that's a foreign topic for a lot of people that I
Mm.
work on Twitter.
Did
I
you
don't
see
know
my
why.
tweet a couple weeks ago? I literally said, I feel like all the Black people that are helping me out, making sure I'm fed, me making sure they're fed, we're all on the same level.
Exactly.
I feel like
Exactly.
once there's some sort of, no offense, white approval and white numbers, they drop off and leave.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, it goes back with years and years of that white mindset that we have to have their approval in order to get somewhere. And it's
Yep.
deeply
I just want to be
ingrained.
happy and successful, y'all.
Well, yeah, and it's like it's deeply
Please.
ingrained in a lot of Black people, unfortunately. And some can break out of that cycle earlier than others. Sometimes it takes a whole lifetime for Black folks to, like, you know, break out of that. And there are people who are middle aged that I know who are Black
Mhm.
people who have still not broken out of that cycle. So I think that's another problem that a lot of people have with like us young Black creators, is that we have broken that cycle because we're literally speaking up against it. We're going against the grain. We're doing things that, you know, our families who settled for less didn't do. And so it's just a lot of this. It's a
And
lot
they
of
get
this.
mad. They get mad you're
Exactly.
not settling for less.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that is what the
Mhm.
majority wants from us. They want us to keep doing this. So we
Mhm.
don't focus on what they're doing to us from up there. So it's like, Black people, get
It's
it
so
together.
true. Even
Like,
your own parents, like, oh, I
yes.
remember I was
Don't even.
oh god, this actually hit me. So I remember I went back, so I'm in university, I'm living in my dorms. During the summer I went back home with my sisters all came back as well. And I remember we just kind of, it was while this like hashtag BLM was on that, right, on the rise. My sister and I just sat in my sister's room on the ground and we kind of just like talked for like hours because we haven't seen each other face to face for months because we go to different universities. So we just talked, and I know we started realizing like it isn't just that the outside world was telling us that we're lesser than, whether our parents knew it or not, they were also saying it.
Mm-hmm,
My dad
Mhm.
would always say,
mm-hmm,
like, keep your head down. If a white police officer comes up to you, just keep your head down and walk away. And because you're Black, and they will take any opportunity to arrest you, get you in trouble, any opportunity to do that. Or like, if I in school I wasn't the greatest student, not gonna lie, I was grades fantastic, personality not so much. I talked back to my teachers a lot, I'll be honest. But every time it would be like, my white friend did the exact same thing, but I'm over here
Mhm.
getting suspended.
oh my
Why?
God.
And then
Yes.
my dad would always say like, you're Black, you can't expect, you have to just admit, you have to accept. And that's what got me.
Mhm.
He said you have to accept that that is a thing you have to deal with for the rest of your life. And
Mhm.
honestly, just this year I decided not to accept it. I decided to just kind of be loud and fight back against it,
Yeah, I don't have to do
because
anything except pay taxes and die.
exactly.
So
I
It's such
disagree
a
on the taxes part, so shit.
Yeah.
yeah, it's just
You're right. You're right.
I
it's
started
wild
looking at it.
how much of it is, it's also in the Black community as well.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
not just we have to deal with it outside of our community. It's also ingrained in ours, and we have to break that cycle and encourage others to break that cycle as well, to make any like legitimate headway.
Like it comes from fear, but at some point we've learned time and time again through history, we got to fight through fear.
And
That's how
also
we get anything.
comfortability. Like
And
comfortability. We like You know what I mean? You can really get just used to how things are, regardless of what that is. Some people just go, well, I mean, it's kind of why now I hate that everybody shares that meme of they're like, well, I'm fine, because it's like it's supposed to be sarcastic in a sense where you're like, that's not okay. But people are like, yeah, no, like you're not, no, sitting in the flames is not okay. It's not okay. It's not fine. It's actually not. But
Yeah.
some folks are like, no, you're like, yeah. So that's why it's I do have to credit like some of who I am to like both my parents, because like my mom is spicy. My mom is like 4 foot
yes.
nothing, and will just like
Nothing.
like it
Mums
doesn't
are
matter
always
how tall
spicy.
you are. Like you so hop on your
Mama
back.
second
So she's and my dad is like he's an engineer. He's super smart, but especially he had to learn how to like excel in a white environment. So like he's the one, because I was very much like, I don't want to play these games. I don't want to do this, and I want to do this, and I don't understand what you're trying to tell me to conform. And like eventually, it was around like when I was like 16. My dad was like, "Look, I'm not telling you not to like it." He's like, "You just have to understand that this is a game, and then if you're not playing it, someone else is playing you." You know what I mean? And so like for me, it was understanding that like, okay, it's not about accepting it or just fighting it. It's about knowing that this is how it is, but you can game it. And if you game it long enough, how you can change it how you want it to. You know what I mean? So like I always try to look at it like tools and less of like a situation I have to be in. Which is why I know people are like, why won't you accept this? I'm like, because I'm not going to. We will play the game so we can get to the part where I can look at some senator in the face and be like, this sucks. We're going to change it. But that's it. You know what I mean? There's a game plan. We're going to play the game, to win. But that's it. And if at the end that means destroying the whole game, then cool, I'm down. But like comfortability of it or the fear of it, that's got to go. You play the game. And like in a weird way, like we're armed to be better to play this game than like the white folks around us, right? Because we're outside of it enough to know that it is a game, to see how it works, you know what I mean? So when you start applying those things, and honestly, like I don't say something on the stream, but there's certain things I do offline that I play the game that I know. Like I know how to play a certain company. Like when Black Lives Matter, if people looked, I was playing it very specifically because I knew companies were going to be like, oh, BLM. And I was waiting. I had a list and I was waiting. Go ahead, play the trap. I'm waiting. Oh, Black Lives Matter? Cool. Publish me. Oh, I mean, unless you're not serious. Do you need sales data? Because I have that.
You hear
Press release? Oh, I got that.
it's quiet, ain't no back talk.
Registered LLC? Because I got that. Copyrights? Trademarks? You know what I mean? So it's like when people tell you what the game is, like, cool. So a lot of the times I already do that so that like I'm waiting for the excuses. And not only am I not going to take it, but I'm going to make it clear that I know the game and I'm better at it. So like, go ahead. And you'd be surprised at how fast companies are like, oh, well, I mean, this is a fantastic brand. I mean, like that's okay. It is a game. You know what I mean? So like, and I don't want that to sound like you have to like settle down, because that's not what I'm saying. But like, you know what I mean? There's a game to it. So sometimes you got to press the buttons right to get what you want out of it. And I just think that like we're so armed at that, we just have to start using it.
I was gonna say, we know the game.
You know, I mean, we know the game, and not use it against each other or use it because some people use it just enough to get themselves a seat at the head of the table and just for themselves, and that's its own issue.
Yeah.
So like, that's why
I've been lucky. Like this year, I've been given so many opportunities to like play. So I just recently joined this like TTRPG sphere, like realm, and just in that year, I've had so many ridiculous opportunities that I never imagined I'd have. And unfortunately, because of time, I can't do all of them. Or if I can, it gives me the power to invite other people of color, whether it be black. If you see my Twitter is a lot about, hey, we need a bit more of people of color in this genre. I want to make it. I want to set up a like a 1-shot, 2-shot to get more people into this like genre. And I've being able to do that, I don't know why more people don't do this. Being able to do that feels good as well. Even if you want to, like, I'm not a selfish person, but I am selfish enough to know that I like the feeling of doing good. So just, even if that's your only motivation, I don't care, because in the end, it's a positive impact on the community. Do it. Like if you had the seat at the table of any table, use it to uplift your fellow people.
I think some of it, unfortunately, sometimes I've seen on some people, you can tell where like they've been burnt too many times to see anything else. And it's like, I'm sorry that happened to you, but maybe you need a spa session and come back when you're not so salty. But like, yeah, desalt. And like, but unfortunately, like that's why we need to keep bringing in more of us, because I mean, it does wear on people to the point where like, because that I had the same thought, and I've seen people be like, like I've had to deal with so many issues from trying to get people and they get this and wada, and you know, they do the same shit that we've had done to them, and it's like, do you not see it?
Yeah.
And that's his own, you know, that's just so disappointing too. And it's like that catch-22 of like, we all know the rule, like you got to be careful about how you shoot shots at the own community online, because then other people like to come in and dogpile, and you're like, hold up.
Yeah.
You have no idea what's going on right here. I need you to stop right now. No. No.
Not for you.
Like it makes me think of when me and Prito were having at it on Twitter, and then people actually were like,
I saw that.
Okay,
I was like,
feel
y'all
that's
can't
thing.
tell
People
jokes?
can't tell. They don't know what a
Like-
joke is. A lot of people don't understand what jokes are.
I'm like, oh my.
I said, so apparently I can't joke with my friend now, question mark.
I don't get, like, I read it and I was like, okay, yeah, they're clearly joking. And then I look in the replies and I see someone like, excuse me, Brandon, they said stop,
So you don't know
please.
about consent? I'm like, oh my God.
If you don't understand the joke, mind your business.
mind your business.
No, but they saw a
Mind your
damsel
business,
in distress and they had to come.
milady.
If you don't see the context of which you read something, keep scrolling. It's simple. We do it every day. We just scroll through Twitter. Just keep scroll.
They won't.
I'm
But
wrong
they
for
won't.
that joke. I was gonna be like, they saw black on black crime and had to intervene.
They had to
They kind of do though. That's how they act though.
Yeah.
That's how they acted. They were like, wait, look, both of you can't fight. You're like,
wait, two black people expressing joy. Like, no,
Only
not
one.
here.
Only
not
one.
my Christian Minecraft server.
That joke.
Oh my god.
Oh man, and like that's in a weird way. Like my Twitter isn't even big because of Swordsfall. It's big because how I have to react to people on my Twitter. All my viral tweets aren't even about Swordsfall. They're about dunking on someone or something ridiculous is going on in the world. But like, people literally can't keep scrolling, so I've just had to be like, okay, there's no button to make you leave. So I'm going to make you leave.
I'm going to remove you from the premises.
Actually, I kind of want to keep a score, and like I wonder how many accounts I've gotten to like delete. There was one week
Oh god.
I had a really good week where like this I don't know, it was just like they just kept leaping into like my jaws. They were like, but actually, and I'm like, did you not just see an hour ago? Don't y'all talk to each other? Like your man's just.
Don't y'all talk to each other.
I mean, he's in the dumpster right now. I mean, yeah, here you go. And then like, I looked back at it a couple days, and it was just like literally like not just like delete tweeted, account deleted. Like I made like 8 dudes delete the whole ass account. I was like, today was a good day.
I mean, people ask for it and they expect submission. They expect people to be quiet. But when they get dragged, you have to stay in the arena and let me drag you. I will let you know when you can leave. You do not leave on your own terms because
It's
And
kind of also
they
their
can't
own
take it.
fault, though.
you came
Mhm.
into my thread. And
I love
But
it.
more than just that, they
No.
came Do you think that a whole group of people who use dragging each other as humor would not come for you?
Who rag each other to greet each other.
Yeah.
We gauge how much we love each other by how much we rag each other, and you're gonna walk in here.
I'ma just say, black people
We
can
don't know you.
drag. Black people can come
For
for you,
real.
especially when you hit that point where you start shaking and your body
Yup.
temperature starts rising and you just black out and your thumbs just start going, and then suddenly you
That's a
look
panic
back the
attack.
next day and you're like, "Oh, I said that." Okay, like I'm not saying from experience. Okay,
I don't know about
I
that.
was like, I don't get that freedom. I tried that once, and then white Twitter turned on me. So,
Oh, they do all the time, but I just don't care.
ooh,
I'm sorry.
right? I don't.
I just-
ooh.
I don't care.
I love people,
Ah.
but like this has been my life all my life. Like, and like Bruna knows, but like, you know, like I grew up in the suburbs. Like I'd spent 3rd grade through college among white people. And as a large black dude, if you do not learn how to deal with that, you're not gonna make it. Period. End of story. So like,
Yeah.
I if people don't want to get some, they need to stop it, because like I'm not adverse to conflict. And, like that's been solved a long time ago. I am more than okay with it. I don't like it. I'd much rather like have fun, talk about anime, play some games. I'd rather talk about a gajillion different shit. I got so much stuff I'm into. Like, but y'all being crusty, so now we gotta talk about this. Like, it doesn't have to be like that.
You want to show your neck, you want to talk out your throat, you're going to sit down at the kitchen table and I'm going to sit across from you and we're going to talk about this. You aren't going to leave until I say you can leave. You are not going to
chop
leave
that trachea.
all the food
Not the
on the
trachea.
plate. You ain't going to leave. That's how that's going to go.
You eat all the food on the
Until you eat
plate.
all the food on all
Go
night.
to the kitchen.
And it's gonna be a dish you don't like.
My mom's the best
You
of all
eat what I
purpose.
make you.
Why
She
don't you
put
go into the kitchen and
peas-
get yourself something to eat?
Peas. No. Oh,
You
God.
put all these nasty peas on my plate, and she put potato salad at one point. I said, "Are you trying to kill
Why
me?"
does everyone hate potato
I
salad?
hate potato
I'm
salad.
traumatized by potato salad. I
Disgusting.
can't. I
I
can't.
can't.
I'm
can't.
eject. I'm out.
Am I the
I'm
only
out.
one here that likes potato
That's
salad?
why I said. That's
That's
why I
your-
said.
I love potato salad.
That's
Yeah,
why,
see.
that's
Thank
why
you.
Nico said if any of y'all bring potatoes.
Shawnee was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna bring potato
Um,
salad."
we make good.
You out.
Forbid.
We'll
Hell
be
no.
booted.
You out.
Can't.
We make
I
good
can't.
potato salad.
You out.
We don't put that nasty stuff in it. We don't put like raisins or any of that.
That
They do
scared
that?
me. I didn't know that was a thing.
People-
until
I mean, that shouldn't even
sketch.
count, because
I
if you
didn't
put
know that
raisins
was a
in
thing.
it, it's no longer potato salad. I don't even count that. I don't even know what that is. That's slop. I don't know.
What do you? Of course, that's potato salad. They put raisins in everything. Chicken.
Once you put
salad,
raisins in it, it is changed. It is
pasta
raisin
salad,
brain.
and I'm like, why are raisins in this?
Raisin, bro.
That reminds me of that quote off of Boondocks about her peach cobbler.
It's too why your cobbler
Wow,
look
why
like
don't-
throw up.
I know peach cobbler look like throw up with peas in it.
I love this.
Why?
It's such a good show. Oh my god.
Now I need to have
Good
like.
show.
See, now I have to write like a whole cookout for Summon of Kings.
You do.
I think that's what I'm gonna do, actually, because I am actually writing a scenario for the remix, so I might have like a whole cookout scene.
With potato salad.
Without the potato salad.
No.
Just for you,
Tastes like
with
no.
no raisins,
No.
like on the very end of the table, like
Can I get it in like a little Cool Whip container?
cool.
Stop the Cool Whip.
A
Cool whip.
personal
Whip.
cool
Whip.
container,
Whip.
yes.
Yeah. Just put hyper.
See, my problem is like
at the end of the table.
I like lived in the burbs, but like my family's from the south. So when my family went to like reunions and stuff, like we would be in like the middle of nowhere, Arkansas, where it's like there's nothing but melanin for miles, and like they don't know your name. Hey, you are homeboys, son. You know, by Third Street,
Spit
right?
it out. Spit it out.
Like-
Come on. Say it.
So like that's what I'm used to, you know what I mean? That it's just like meeting uncles that you've never heard of before, but you're
And
like,
they'd be like,
you know,
you remember me, right? When I changed your diapers
I
when
am
you were
like-
3. You remember
like,
me?
no, I don't know who you are.
Sir?
Yeah.
Stranger danger.
Hello.
They start like referring to him by like what food they bring in. Oh yeah, you know, Uncle Larry's coming with the catfish. Oh, catfish uncle. And
Catfish.
Oh, we had a jollof
Oh my
rice. We had a
gosh.
jollof rice auntie. When
Remember
it's just coming to the party, you know it's gonna be a party. Her
Right.
jollof
Oh
rice.
my gosh.
Like, like I don't
be
remember.
out there with the loafers. I miss that.
Loaf.
I miss seeing middle-aged black men with loafers in front of a barbecue.
Ooh, with those blue jean capris.
Blue jean capris, eh? the printed shirt,
Yes.
button down.
Capri's
Like
high.
everybody how they don't know how to grill.
Oh my.
You know how to grill like I do, nephew. You know, nope, you don't understand. Like I don't. I'm just here to eat.
Literally,
I don't-
leave me alone.
With your breath.
I'm 12, bro. I'm 12. I'm just here to eat.
12.
Just play Nintendo, but they kicked me out, so I'm out here in the yard with y'all. So I don't know. I'm just
I'm trying to find my favorite cousin and a plate of food. Leave me alone.
On the kids' table. I'm trying to
Oh
find it.
man. They weren't even kids' tables. They were like just little plaques
the
on the
little
front.
plaque tables
Yeah.
like at
Yes.
the end because like they forgot about the kids. Like, oh, got at the kids' table. They pull
With
out
the
like the
dollar-
card
with the
table. It's got the
dollar.
poker
And
cards.
it's like
still on
8
it.
feet lower than the actual table.
Plastic.
Grandma, I'm 12. He's 17.
Oh man,
Oh,
I love that everybody had the same life.
It's
So good, so good.
like, well, yes, I also grew up in the burbs of the Midwest. How are you?
y'all get
I'm still trying to figure out my identity. Good. How are you?
did y'all get matching family reunion shirts for every single
Yup.
Ew.
Yup.
They put our
Oh,
faces on them.
No, we got
Yep.
you got like bottle openers. We got bottle openers with the family of everyone's face on it. It was so because we in the UK at the very least where I'm from, super malt is a thing that everybody, all Nigerians love, and for some reason they thought, you know what, we should have like bottle openers with our faces. That's a good idea, right? For family really so I probably have back at home. I have like a bottle opener for every family reunion we've had, every single one. I don't know why they think we need this many bottle openers. I don't drink that many things from a bottle that needs to be opened
I
like
was gonna
that.
say,
but-
they're like, here's,
Trying to give
here's
you
your
a hint.
bottle opener. Grandma,
I'ma
I'm
have
6.
Oh, that's great. See, now I'm gonna use that now because that's great. You're like, what? You're like,
I'll see if I
even-
can find it. If I go back home, yeah, I get a picture. It's
That's
oh my
great.
God.
That's funny.
I'm just used to the family reunion shirts that everybody wore that had like you could tell someone made in like Microsoft Word, had like the little clippy art.
And
Like,
everyone's so
family.
loud too.
But it's I love it though. I miss it so
I do
much.
because I'm the quiet one, so I'm like, you can't hear me. I'm gonna go over there.
I'm the quiet one with 2 plates.
Yes.
literally distinct.
The entree.
I can't do that. My aunties would talk about me getting 2 plates.
Yep, I was
That's why-
about to
that's
say
why you
it's
have
like I'm
younger
the one trying to
siblings.
dodge the auntie,
have
the
the younger
auntie, the
siblings.
gossip. I'm
This
not-
is 2nd plate.
They'd be like,
Get your little
so
sister to
Brandon,
get
how are
me."
you doing?
This your second husband?
Get a little sister. That's what I do. I get my little sister to go get. I like, hey, can you? I'll give you a sweet if you get me another plate, please. 'Cause
Yeah.
Uncle won't let me, so can you do it for me?
I can't-
So I get my sisters to do it.
We had to do those transactions. Like it had
That's
to.
so
yeah.
funny.
That was me with juice boxes.
Oh, those
From the
jug-
cooler.
jug juice boxes with the foil on top. I
Oh
forgot-
yeah.
With the foil.
Yep.
Remember that? The,
You
the
remember
ones
foil?
that look like they're in barrels.
Yep. I always call them like juice grenades.
The,
I know
the,
this was
the,
juice
the one you
grenades.
get from like the gas
Mhm,
station.
with the little the little
Yeah.
silicone tops. and you just, like, punch your
Yeah.
straw through it,
12
or
or something.
Oh god.
There's all
Mhm.
kinds of colors.
pull it
Yeah.
out. Yep.
Yes.
I still drink
It's
that
just
now.
like 89 grams of sugar.
I didn't even care. I didn't even care. I'm like,
Oh,
God.
we didn't care, but that's why we loved them, man. It was just water and sugar and color in those. That's it, and a plastic barrel. But man, I love the hell out of those. Man, I drink that. Man,
Well, I can't drink too much sugar now.
Exactly.
now I'm like, oh, heartburn.
I can't even do Kool-Aid
Oh,
anymore. It's too sugary.
I mean, Kool-Aid. Let's be real. Like,
I mean,
no
it's the
one
way you make
really,
it.
really loves Kool-Aid. we just have gotten used to modifying Kool-Aid enough to become a different drink that is no longer Kool-Aid, but we call
It's true.
Kool-Aid.
Because
but
when you
it's not
buy it in the
Kool-Aid.
packages, it's not the same. It's not the same thing.
Not
We
the
have
same
a
thing.
friend, Bree Rox, and I have a friend who didn't know that you put sugar in Kool-Aid.
Who?
Should I expose his name?
Who?
Mitchell. Mitchell.
Oh,
Not surprised.
okay.
Blondie. Yeah. He was like,
That's how
you
people
put sugar
expose
in Kool-Aid?
themselves.
I was like, oh,
He did this to himself. So
you do
I don't-
not
That's
put
like
sugar in Kool-Aid?
that's like my POC test. I'm like, make Kool-Aid.
Make Kool-Aid.
White
I
people
mean,
start to
I will
sweat
say in the
for
UK we do not have Kool-Aid. I don't think we
I
have
mean, I
any
don't blame
Oh,
you.
man.
You shouldn't.
What's that joke? What's that?
You
Oh,
won't have high blood pressure.
when they make you name what flavor it is, and if you say anything other than red, you're wrong.
Right, you're wrong, yeah.
Mhm.
Anything but right.
You will be drinking grape Kool-Aid and you're like, this is red.
This is red.
This is red.
I don't like
Kool-Aid.
grape Kool-Aid.
And then I felt so betrayed when Kool-Aid Jammers came out. I felt betrayed. I felt a sense of betrayal. But then I tried it and I was like,
Jammers. It sounds
I was
familiar, but I feel
"What?
like
They're so good."
it sounds familiar, but I also have this feeling like I blocked that out of my head like New Coke. So I'm trying to think. I'm like,
New Coke. I haven't had a Coke in years. What does Coke taste like?
what's your good to on that?
It's probably a good thing.
yeah,
Is
Actually,
there
I
a
don't-
New Coke?
Do they drink Coke on Tycor? That's a good question. I never thought about that now.
Do they drink?
Drinks. I don't even know. Like, see, that's the weird stuff. Like, you think about, like, would a parallel universe make soda, and would it be the same? And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Mm.
Do they have
Well,
sparkling
what do
water, but like
their-
good?
What do
they
their
got that
diet
jungle juice.
like?
We got good
Depends.
sparkling water.
It depends where, like, so because like I made so much of the animal kingdom in Swordsfall, like, you know, omnipresence, like it makes the concept of like cattle and herd kind of hard. So not like primarily vegetarian, but like a lot of them are really, they rely like pretty heavily on things that they can produce without animals or needing anything. So it's like
I like that.
in like Gruta, they grow a ton of vegetables and stuff because it's a very like foresty area, and like culturally, like the crew kind of have a thing where like they have a pride in their personal garden, you know. And there's actually some stuff that I took from a few cultures, at this sense of like that was a really interesting thing too, is like realizing that like gardening was not just like a thing you did for the village, but there was like a garden for like the family, like not necessarily spiritual, it's just like you tended to your garden like you tend to life. It's like kind of metaphor, right? So that's what the crew do. So like they really pride themselves on like being able to be like, oh yeah, check out what we grew this harvest, and like that's kind of their like they're keeping up with the Joneses. Like, did you see what they're growing there? Oh, we got them this year, you know. So like, you know, so like I try
That's
to make
cute.
it like cultural, but also like make sense. And then like in Vinyana, since it's a desert, they literally grow their food. So like they've been doing like the plant-based, like how we're doing like impossible stuff, like that's what they've been doing forever. Like they make artificial stuff sometimes, like tofu and stuff like that. And they not to say that people don't eat meat, but how to put this? You eat things that are too dumb to say no, and things you hate that you're like, I'm eating you. Ha, you suck. That's kind of how it works.
I'm like, is there an animal that I think about that like?
There is, and every culture has that, and like that was one of the interesting things I found. Like there's a lot of things that I realized like I took for granted in America, when people are like, oh, that's how it is in Africa, and then like as you read, you're like, oh yeah, by the way, there is no like Africa one word. It's like Africa, a culmination of like all these cultures and a whole bunch of nobody's ever heard of that you might find in one book because one person found this one story left from the one reliving person, and like so like realizing like the diversity of that, but like seeing that like how people felt about animals was very personal. So like
Hmm.
like there's tribes that like cared for lions because they looked at them as strength, and there's places that they hated them and that they were like lazy and terrible creatures, and when you see one, you kill them, fuck them. Like, so like it's very like dynamic, so it's very like personal, because like they felt there was like a sense of like they took it personally, right? So like if animals start attacking your place, it's not just, oh, animals, is like, hey, lions, what we do to y'all? Work for here, you were over there. No. So like there's a story in like a culture and how they feel about animals, and it's always had to do with like how they interact with them. So like animals that are chill, guaranteed are chill in culture and people like them and whatnot, and if they're not chill, they're terrible.
That's fair.
That's fair. You know, so
don't be a jerk.
Don't be a jerk, you know. So like, and that's one thing I enjoy, because you'll find these tales where it's like, you know, something like really important happens, and a chief will be walking and thinking to himself, and then like there's a famous one of coming across a chameleon, and the chameleon's like, hey, let me tell you how to solve this. And it's just like, I like the concept of there was never a feeling that like certain animals weren't worth respect. Like you could be a demigod trying to figure out how to give powers to your people, and you run across a chameleon who gives you advice and you stop and listen to it, you know? So like there's that sense of there's no like hierarchy, like, oh, I only talk to big alpha predators, and anything that's, you know, eats vegetables hot. Like there's none of that, you know. Like every animal has its own wisdom, because every animal has its things it's good at and not good at, and has knowledge and wisdom that go along with that, you know. So like, and that's why like there's a lot of allegories to it. Like you listen to the chameleon because the chameleon understands what it means to be multiple things. So you find symbolism, like you find a lot of like chameleons giving advice when it has to do with like subterfuge, kind of, you know, so like how to deal with a complicated situation, like, you know. So there's a lot of things like that. Like lions tend to be either like, usually honestly lions are more like antagonists, because they're usually like portrayed as being like lazy and kind of just waiting to get an easy meal. But when they do show up and they have a presence, it usually is to explain to you like the de facto parts of life, almost like in a dick way. Lion's like, well, I'm a lion, you're a mouse, you got 8 life. Like that's a lion advice, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and like it kind of makes sense for a lion, right? You know, so like I'd take that and keep it in Swordsfall. And so like what the eat goes along with that. So like you can't eat your buddies, you know, so you eat your enemies, and you eat the ones that can't be friends because it's a fish. And most fish in most stories, other than like deity fish, most fish are just kind of like fishy. Like there's not a lot of stories of like fish like having conversations. When they are, they're like more major fish, but just like schools of fish. Oh yeah, you fish, whatever. Fish are dumb, you eat them. It's a weird thing. It's just like there's a very fish. Oh yeah, fish. Everybody eats those, and you're like, oh, just like that. Just respect ends at fishes. Okay, cool.
Okay. Then I have another question then. With all this research you've done and kind of breaking away from American Western ideals like Christianity and culture and things like that, how's that actually with writing Swordsfall affected your actual life and how you approach culture and the way you go about that in your daily life?
It's an interesting thing, because in a weird way, I got into this because that's how I am personally. Mm-hmm. So I ended up getting into philosophy in college pretty much because it was the thing that interested me, because I think this is maybe part of the Black experience, but I've spent a lot of time just being like, why are people the way they are? Like, but why though? Like, this doesn't, someone needs to make sense to this to me. Like, how? So getting into like philosophy and like just more concepts of how people tick, and not like in a mechanical way, but like a why are we sad? Like, you know, that I've just found that really interesting. And when you get into philosophy, you realize quickly that it's actually not so much about arguments as people would make you think it is, but really understanding people. You can't understand philosophy without understanding culture. So I took a number of indigenous, you know, religions and indigenous cultures classes that was eye-opening from the jump. So like one thing that always sat with me is in one of my indigenous cultures class, we had a guy from the Thunderfoot clan come in, and just for one, his presence was just like, there's very few people I've ever met in my life that just had a presence that just like just exuberated from him. Like this dude showed up, I was like, oh, he about to lay that real knowledge on us. Oh, like you felt it. Like this dude, he lived a life, and you were just like, this is a G. Like, okay, like attention. And sure enough, he was just like, fact. And it was just all like, by the end of the class, I was like, where we march to, my guy? Where we march? Where we marching? This is where we marching. Like, so like, so for me, it was just a reminder that like, oh yeah, like that Black experience is bad, but like, bro, like there's so much stuff going on. Like we're in a weird position of like being in a bad spot, and I hate to say it, but an almost good spot, you know? So like that put perspective on me, reminded me that like there is an influence that like we have that we can like utilize. So like I kind of had that open to me like in college through like reading about that. And then like when I got to like Eastern religions, I actually got really into Hinduism and Buddhism. So like you see a lot of both of those things in Swordsfall, and that's like my personal bit because I really got into those, because even though like I grew up like Southern Baptist, I never was really into it. And I've always felt an odd way about just Catholicism because #racism. So like those were things that I read that really like elevated me personally. And I was like, oh, we can just be like all religions are okay. Oh, I kind of like this. So that kind of put me in a position to be like more open to accepting those things, but also realizing that it is someone else's culture, but you can appreciate it and take those ideals for yourself without taking the culture. So like I was kind of already ready for this in a weird way. So it's really been more of like a journey for myself and understanding information that like I realized I was missing, because one of the things that struck me just pretty much immediately was when I was reading, I have like a book of just, it's like various African tales from a whole bunch of different cultures, like Igbo, Akai, like it's a whole kind of a collection, right? And like after the second tale, I was just like, why is this hitting so hard? I was like, I never read anything like this that just feels like it's just speaking to me. Like, what is this? And it was this real sense of, oh, well, like, yeah, like you're not from Africa, but like there is a shared ancestry, and that like this stuff really is your history too. You know, like, maybe not in modern times, but like this is you. You know, so it was like, oh man. So for me, it's almost like more discovery. So I'm kind of like sharing things that I feel and I discover, and every time I read something new, it feels like it's like putting a space in somewhere I didn't know there was a hole. And I'm like, oh wow, I didn't know I needed this sense that like there can be this kind of harmony or this kind of thing. So like I do credit like I do credit parts of college. Not all of college, because I don't like the student debt. Hashtag Biden, my guy. I will be real nice to you for like a whole year if you just
for a whole year, and then I will get on to you.
Please.
One more time. Can you do that for me one more time?
Please.
just
Please.
Mr. Biden.
Just one less problem we need to worry about.
We'll bring the Biden, like Obama Biden memes back. We promise. Like we won't make fun of him this time.
That's true. I
We
will bring
won't
back
make
the
fun of
memes.
it.
Listen. You want a second term?
By me.
But
like that's been kind of my thing too. Like I feel like as a Black community, sometimes we need to not be so elitist in a way. Like I don't want to say be open to a bribe, but I'm at the point where I'm like, hey, do you want our vote? You know what's our issue?
I mean, that's a good point, because we're one of the people that they're meant to be helping representing. So obviously they have to cater to. Obviously, I'm from the UK, but it still applies here with the Prime Minister and everything like that. Like they have to cater to us, and I think a lot of people, like I joked about it, but like back in the day, like, and I'm talking about like back when, I don't know, people were like, everyone was a farmer. Like the government was generally scared of their people because their people will revolt.
And they should still be. Kick their whole ass in,
scared
bro.
of
Like,
them.
I can build a guillotine. That was not a threat. That was just, I like building things.
I can build one too, and that was.
It's like it's not a threat. I'm just saying it's my hobby. I go home.
Saying,
I'm
I
like,
do it, you know.
I do build things. It's not a lie.
Well, yeah, like government should. I don't know where that fear went to, but like it should still be there. It shouldn't be a thing like, oh, 4 years is up. Okay, now I'm gonna start caring to people. It should be like they should be sweating constantly, like, oh, they could come to my door right now and just tell me like they want this. I need to make this happen.
Exactly.
Gonna
And
take
it takes a
that-
little pressure.
It's going to take that one thing to tip everyone over the edge, and people will be at their doors. And we're like
Yeah, one more thing, and it's
right there.
good luck to every
Mhm.
politician. These hands are rated E for every politician.
Everyone
Rated
practicing.
E, I'm dead.
So, we don't have much time. So I guess I have
guess.
one more.
Oh, there was
question.
Hold on. Someone asked a question. What did you
They did?
major in
Yes.
college? Philosophy. So, philosophy with the minor in technically it's Eastern religions, but really I was just like taking specific classes that were like, oh, this is Hindu related, and this is Buddhism related, this is Japanese related, because this is my minor. I wasn't gonna use it. Just like they let me get into those
So
classes.
those were actually a part of your studies. That's really cool.
It was just, like when I was in college, it was like you couldn't get into certain classes if you didn't have it as your minor or major. So I was like, I want this class.
True.
My minor now. They just want this one class. But I originally actually went for pre-law. I was supposed to be a lawyer. I disappointed
wow.
everyone when I showed up outside and I was not a lawyer.
Oh,
It's simply
That's
unique.
That's what my family wanted me to be. And as soon as I said, I want to be a theater major,
Ooh, if you mentioned theater to my parents, they'd be like, "The what? What?"
Yep.
yeah.
Mhm.
She was like,
That's a
okay,
weird
you
way
do
to
theater.
pronounce. That's a weird way to pronounce lawyer. What?
That's a
right?
That's
Right? And
Why the lawyer all the time?
Lawyer, engineer, accountant.
What's funny, it's never lawyers who tell you to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. In
Most
fact,
lawyers
sister-
will not tell you to be a
some of them
lawyer.
say
Like my sister is studying law and literally told me like the first thing they mentioned in the class is like, chances are you're gonna come out of this not a lawyer. Like just accept that you probably won't
Mhm.
become a lawyer. And
I don't
like,
have
just from
the moral
get-go.
compass to be a lawyer because I'd be like, Your Honor, he did it. He literally told me he did it. Like,
I'm pretty sure if they tell you they did it, even as a lawyer who's defending them, you have to say
Mhm.
that.
Do
Well,
you?
Tell them,
that's why,
yeah.
like, that's
Hmm.
so it's so there's literally a class that you take, and what you're talking about, that's actually when I was like at Canton, it's literally there's a moral ethics class you have to take, and one of the first things that drill
Wow.
into day one is that more or less, and this I'm gonna use my one cuss word, but literally the dude was like, the law, fuck your feelings, and it was just like. Oh, it's like that because it's, like being a lawyer means you're surrendering yourself to the law. You are an agent
Yeah.
of the law. You are not a lawyer as a personal trade. You are an agent of the law. Your job is not to state whether the law is right or wrong. Your job is to abide by the law and those statutes. So, like, there's a weird division to it that has to be there for it. But if you're not that kind of person, it feels weird. Like, so I was just like, it was the one class that made like my body vibrate because you go through these case journals and it kind of puts in your own conscience because it's easy to be like, I would say yes, but you read these, they're so complicated because nothing is ever actually plain. Things are complicated. So oftentimes you're like, what if you're in a situation where you have exculpatory evidence that says that so person is guilty, but it broke the chain of command. You know what I mean? It's not just would you do this, it's the details of the law, because that is the stuff you have to worry about. So are you capable of following the 89 things that you have to do, particularly for a case, every single time, even when your feelings are like, I could let this evidence get out because screw this person, but that would be legally unethical. So like that's where most people flame out because it's morally hard. You're like, that's a lot to put on you. So like, so I respect lawyers because it requires you to put your emotions in the box because you have to. You would be the world's lowest lawyer, regardless of someone's guilt or innocence, if you couldn't look at it impartially, because that's what it's graded on. So I was like,
I was like, I couldn't do that.
I was like, I love it as a concept, and I probably could be an okay lawyer for a minute, but I love myself too much.
So where do you see all of this going, Brandon? What do you think that there will ever be a line where you stop, or is this going to be like I'm going to see exactly how far I can go
I
and
stop when I
keep
die.
doing it? Stop when you.
I'm enjoying like this is like for the first time ever, like I truly enjoy what I do. Like, don't get me wrong, I get into Twitter and that bitch because Twitter is like that's just my vent zone because then it lets me go back to work, which I need people to understand that I'm not actually as angry as people think you miss Twitter. It's my vent zone and it feels good and it's cathartic and I go, ah. And then I close Twitter and I open back up Microsoft Word and I go back to my work. So like sometimes people are like, why are you so I'm not. I'm just venting. I'm good. I have weed. I'm good. I'm happy. But like, I don't know. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. Like thoroughly enjoying what I'm doing. So like, the only way I see myself coming to an end is like A, die. B, I run out of ideas, but I don't see that happening. Or C, someone offers me so much money that my eyes roll to the back of my head and they have to like jolt me back awake and be like, this much and then I die again and jolt me back. Other than that, I don't really see it happening because I want to do it all. Like I want to do an anime, I
Right?
want to do a movie, I want to do another movie, and then a movie after that, and then another anime, another show, and I don't know. Catch me in a private musical. I don't know. I'll do everything. I don't really care. Like
Oh, musical.
And it doesn't have to stop. I think that's the best part about creating is because you're creating. It never has to stop until you're dead.
until you're done.
Even
like,
then,
that's-
like
even then, Tupac. I mean, he's
Yeah, I was-
coming out, so I don't know. Mhm.
listen.
Waiting for the brand.
So I don't know what his secret is, but I'm trying to get a little Tupac juice. That's all I'm saying. So,
Tupac juice. Sorry.
Illuminati.
You're like,
Illuminati, man,
On
hit
the
me up.
stream?
Hit me up.
Don't say that.
they are devil worshippers just like Beyonce.
Right.
Leave Beyonce alone.
People call her that. I'm like, wow.
I thought it was all a joke until I came across a brother who really believed in that, and I was laughing, and I was like, "Oh, you serious, my guy?" And he was
You
like,
think
"Yeah,"
Beyonce?
and Jay-Z and Kanye, and they get it so and so. I'm like, "Oh, it's too deep." And he was
I'm
like,
like-
"Bro, in this bar," and hold on, on this CD, I'm like,
Oh.
Have you heard or seen Beyonce? She doesn't need to do anything.
"Didn't need to do anything." Like, who needs Illuminati when you look like that? When you got that kind of power?
Literally.
Like, come now.
And,
What you gonna
and you
say?
sound like that. Hello, you can dance
No
like
to
that.
Beyonce.
Excuse me.
Your ancestors will pop up and be like, "What?"
Art thou okay?
How you gonna tell that to your friends? How you gonna explain it to anybody?
I don't trust people who don't like Beyonce.
So the other day, I said no
Ooh.
to Beyonce. You did what?
Huh?
You lying?
I probably have to fight him.
Fist.
Hi, Beyonce. I would love your money. Hello.
I was in
Beyonce, I know you're watching Beyonce.
I just want the
You hear-
money.
It's on a concert.
You'd be surprised how many celebrities just watch random things because they're just like,
Mhm.
So
I'm not a celebrity, but I get it a little bit. Like it must be weird because you don't feel any different, but you watch other people look at you differently, and like you don't see it in real time. Like I only realize where I am like months after everyone else is. Like, and I'm like, yeah, I'm like small creative people. Like, how are you small? You did 125 grand on Kickstarter. I'm like, yeah, like 2 weeks ago, I was like selling weed in Oregon. What are you talking about? Like nobody knew my name. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? People are like, oh, you're big.
Yet, gaming companies who literally don't fire their racist coworkers are making like 400,000 on Kickstarter.
That's fun. I'm gonna come take their money too. That's kind of how I look at it now. Like every time someone is successful, I'm like, cool, coming to take your money too. Honestly, that's probably what Swordsfall is going to be in the future. I'll have enough money that I'm going to be like that guy. If something comes out that I think is terrible and anti-black, I will come out with something opposite to make fun of it, to prove a point, because this shit needs to stop. Period. And like, honestly, you got to hit him in the money. Like I realize that there's no other way that you can hit him. Like, you know what I mean? Because like you can say whatever to them. They'll get sad. They'll go home, use money for like, tissue. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean? So like, You got to hit
No,
him
you
where
don't.
where it hurts, right? And like what really hurts, and I've seen this with like my little hate squad. They've been taught that you can only win in a certain way, which is a lie. So playing the game that they do up to a point and then essentially doing cheat codes because you're like, oh, JK, the game isn't real. They don't know what to do. They're like, but you're supposed to do it this way. This is how dad did it, granddad did it, and daddy did it. And that's how America is. And you're like, well, I'm not. And they literally they're like, you know, when I told people I wasn't gonna do D&D, I was gonna do my own thing, they were like,
Hmm. Hmm.
huh? And then I'm like, no, just completely like none, nothing yet. And it was just, you can just see that, you know. And then I still get people that are like, wow, you really did like a setting book with no rules. I'm like, yeah, why not? And there's a strength when you're outside of it enough to be like, you can just do something else. And sometimes I think people will think that it's, in a way, I kind of feel bad for some of them sometimes because they truly have been taught to think that it only works one way, maybe two, but only for that special exception, and that's it. And everything else is lava. And that they truly believe it. They truly think the floor is lava. So they're trapped by it, and you can see it, and you can see them turn their wheels and be like, well, I don't know how to do this. And it's because they think they can't do anything else because the floor is lava. So figuring out, or I should say, seeing how they operate, because the thing about humans is when you do put people in a corner and even saying to them the floor is lava, even if it's not real, it makes them work in certain ways, right? So there is tools you can use. So like, you know, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, I take those tools that they do because they think that, okay, I can only do it this way. So they put all their effort into the one way. But there's a point where you realize you're like, okay, the floor isn't lava and I can get off here. So knowing that you can do that and knowing when to do that, it not only is like good for you and in your own creation, but it's a disruptor. It's what they love to call a market disruptor because they think it's not possible because they've been telling themselves that. Even though other people and other fans and other people in the genre will say, hey, we want these kind of games, we want this, we want this. By the time it filters up to them, they think, that's a small crowd. Because that's what Grimmel, that's a small crowd. No one's going to buy anything POC. That no. So they said before Black Panther comes out, oh yeah, I'm sure black people will, like, a few will go, but no. Like, they truly convinced themselves. So in a way, like the supremacy is so deep, they don't know it's supremacy. They think it's facts. They think it's actual facts. And so sometimes you can't argue with them. You just have to literally get off the couch and onto the floor where they're like, you're in the lava. And you're like, okay, friend. And you do your own thing. And it's like a cheat code to them because they will not get off because they are convinced that what you're doing is suicide. So as you're succeeding, they will never follow you because they think you're in the wrong. So like, that's what I do with Swordsfall all the time. People say you can't do X, and I'm like, why? Like, actually, why? And you quickly realize there's no actual reason. Before I did Welcome to Tycor, everybody told me a setting an art book before RPG rules, why? No one's gonna buy that. That's silly. Like, Reddit was like mad angry at me. They're like, how dare you? Rules?
Okay.
Where's the rules? A setting by itself? How dare you make mockery of this genre? Out of here. And they was just like, what? Okay, I'm gonna go do it anyway. And they were hot. Some of them are still mad. Like, I'll still see stuff that, like, but we'll see when the RPG rules come out. You're like,
You gonna be waiting.
what you don't realize is because I haven't made my business about one market, because I actually diversified in that keyword, diversify, I don't actually have to rely on just an RPG book. Therefore, I can make everything good and I can take my time on everything because my existence is not reliant on one thing. That's why I did a set in an art book. That's why it's getting published. That's the truth. So, like, yeah, there's a hustle, but also when you realize that everyone is just being blind about it and playing the floor as lava, you go, cool, you play that game. And I played until a point, and then I got off. You know what I mean? And there's power. There's so much power in that. And that's why they're always like, wow, Swordsfall. Like, just the floor is not lava. That's all I'm saying. Just make some stuff up. Try whatever. Like, you know, I mean, if you don't put too much money into something in a weird way, you can kind of afford just to take a risk. Like, I basically took a risk with some of the Kings. I didn't know if anyone was gonna like play a small thing, let alone I knew that making about rappers and a rap battle, I knew for a fact was gonna like cut my audience by like 15/16. You know what I mean? I knew it was gonna, but I was like, it's something I want to do. It's an idea I have, and I think it'd be cool. And that's that. And that's the floor is lava part, you know, because most people would convince themselves not to or whatnot or make it bigger. And I was like, no, this is what I want to do. And I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Man, it's like simple, but like it's really it's easy to kind of like gloss over how influential being like in a community can be, and hearing different people's thoughts on something, especially when things sound unanimous. I think people underestimate how much they'll kill a good idea because they think that everyone else around them is right and they shouldn't do something. And you can take people's stuff in advisement, but sometimes you just gotta go for the gold anyway, just to try it. You know what I mean? Like there's mistakes I made with Summon of Kings, and I'm glad I made them because now I won't do them again.
True.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I don't like to make the same mistake twice. That's me personally. Like I'm the anime character. I'm like, the same move won't work twice on me.
Stop.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I hate to wrap this up. I really do, because we can literally sit here and talk for hours. But a huge thank you to Brandon for coming on and being willing to talk about this stuff, especially stuff that needed to be said. And Swordsfall is a world. It is a world. It's a world. I'm going to say it again. It's a world. A world. A world. But let's go around and tell everyone who you are and where they can find you. Brandon, where can people find you?
You may find me at www.swordsfall.com for all your latest Afropunk sci fantasy apparel and books and more, including a coloring book that just came out on Amazon called Melanin and Mex, because I wanted to use the word melanin and put it on Amazon. So I did.
And also buy Drift of Dreams, do the thing, buy all the merch, and buy that new coloring book because it is stunning. I love it. Awesome. And use my code, and I'm a terrible affiliate. I should have put my referral link
make that money
into the chat. But yeah, use my code at least. Burrito, all 3 E's capitalized. I will rep that till the day I die. So yeah, Drac, where can we find you? What you doing?
Hi, I'm Jack. Audioconics on Twitter. That's DRAKONIQES. I'm doing too much. My regular schedule is that I'm here every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, playing Swordsfall. On Wednesdays, I'm over on Encounter Roleplay at 6 p.m. Eastern, playing iHunt. On every other Thursday, I'm over on Scriv the Boss channel, playing D&D. Every Saturday, I'm over on Chromatic Chimera's channel, playing Burn Bright at 6 p.m. Eastern. Tomorrow, I'm going to be on Joshua Simmons' channel for a charity stream from 12 Central to 3 Central. Also tomorrow, I'm going to be on iHunt. I already said that. And I'm also going to be on another show that I'm not allowed to announce yet because my appearance is going to be surprised. Just follow me on Twitter, because right after iHunt, I'm going to be on a game immediately after that. So yeah, check me out. I'm doing way too many things. I'm also organizing
2021.
I'm also the co-founder and the events organizer of Friends Roll Dice, which is a TTRPG Twitch channel I run. We are organizing a month-long charity event for December. We're raising money for the Philippines because I don't know if anyone knows, but they've been hit by a ridiculous amount of typhoons the past just 2 months. I think they've been hit by like 5 or 6 typhoons. One of them being the biggest ever recorded in Earth history to hit landfall. So we kind of were like, oh shit, let's make a really last-minute event to raise money for these people. So yeah, keep an eye out for that. I'm gonna tweet out some probably casting calls because I'm still looking for people to play, and just exact dates and times of when that is all happening. But yeah, that's me. I don't sleep.
Says casually. That's what I.
You need to get some sleep.
Crack. We talked about this.
I know, like it's
Yeah,
cool. I rest
yeah.
my eyelids every so often. It's fine.
Yeah.
Gotta move your legs more. Oof.
Bab, where can we find you? What you doing?
You guys can find me at aperture_ghosts, and I'm just doing my film thing. I'm working on a few projects. Doing post-production on a project called Wolfman in the City. It's a love story, so be on the lookout for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
We love a good love story. We do.
It's true.
Let me see. Who can I keep on their toes? Piper, what you doing?
Don't do that. I have anxiety. What am I doing?
Where can people find
Where
you?
can people find you? Thank you. My
Mm.
gosh. They can find me everywhere, pretty much, at O'Burns. I pretty much post content every single day, whether it is tabletop related, cosplay related, video related. Blah, 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 blah. You should check out my D&D podcast with my friends called Realms Apart. We have an animated version and also a live stream version. We're doing numbers, so you might want to jump on that. And also you get to see my character who's melanated and beautiful. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Can I quickly jump in with another plug? Because Piper just reminded me, I'm also in an actual play podcast called Super Idols RPG.
Jesus Christ.
Where I play a magical, like it's basically a magical idol boy. It's great. It's like a superhero plus basically Sailor Moon and just smushed together.
So you
When
like
do you sleep?
tabletop games?
I don't know. They're kind of cool, I guess. You know.
Oh my god, that's funny.
When do you sleep?
It's like
And-
week.
I only have 2 days I don't do anything.
Oh my god. Rox, where can people find you? What are you doing?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Rocks the Wizard. I'm here every Tuesday, and I will be on TPK Roleplay on every other Friday playing Rhyme of the Frost Maiden. And if you want to talk anime, you can do that with me.
No.
And that is it.
And my name's Brito. You can find me on Twitter at Brito 3Es_. I do a lot of things that are TTRPG related. I'm currently in LFM's Rise of the Veiled Alliance, Tales of the Silted Expanse. I play Kita, and we're actually about to wrap up our season now. You can catch us on Twitch and on Twitter and on YouTube, all that great stuff. I'm here doing Summit of Kings on Tuesdays. And then on Fridays, I will also be doing TPK roleplay, the same campaign as Rox. So I'm really excited about that. And I will be doing some secret things that will be released soon.
I got a secret.
Secret.
So yeah, go ahead and find me on Twitter. And please give all of these lovely folks a follow. Follow them, and not only follow them, support them, be active in their platforms. And also give our lovely producer Dot a follow as well, because without her, this would not be possible. And speaking of, thank you to the Fulton Arts and Heritage County Center for giving us funding for the show. And also, please, please, please donate to the Atlanta Solidarity Fund for protesters who cannot make bail. So yeah, we will be resuming the campaign next Tuesday. But until then, take care of yourselves, hydrate or dehydrate, and wear your masks. Don't go anywhere unless you absolutely have to because COVID is on the rise.
Yo, God,
Moisturize.
please.
Be well, folks. So, okay. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Hey.